Hey guys, welcome to the Dixie Dems follow-up version on the Lean to the Left podcast. Following up after last night's debate with Trump and Kamala Harris. And I think we all generally agree that Trump got his butt kicked. It wasn't even pretty. And that son of a gun was talking about how immigrants, I think the highlight of the debate was when he was talking about how immigrants from Haiti are eating dogs and cats in Springfield, Ohio. And the look on Kamala Harris's face was just precious. Anyway, who wants to go first on this, you guys? Arthur, what do you got?
Following up on what you just said, which I absolutely agree with, safe to say at this point, less than 24 hours after the debate took place, that the emperor has no clothes. And there's a book that came out a little while ago. It's written by Dr. Rachel Beitkofer, who's a professor of political science who moonlights as a consultant to Democratic campaigns. She wrote a book that came out within the last few months. And in her book, she recommends that Democrats in general get off their high horse of morality and start fighting back tooth and nail with some of the innuendos and comments and strategies that the Republicans have been hurling at us for all these years. And I think that's exactly what Harris did in the debate. And then I went through today and I just picked out a random set of comments from folks whose judgment I trust and who I enjoy reading. And you all may have heard of some of these folks. And I think that what they had to say was right on. For example, Simon Rosenberg of the Hopium Chronicles said Trump lost badly. We here at Hopium know he's a rapist, fraudster, traitor, and a felon, that he is unfit, unwell, extreme, and untethered, that MAGA is failed politics, deeply out of touch with the American people, a threat to all that we hold dear. But now, tens and tens of millions of Americans know it is too far. Trump's historic awfulness needs to be seen to be believed. That's what Simon had to say. And I think I've got some comments from other folks, but I can yield the floor now and let somebody else talk if you want.
Yeah, okay. The aftermath of this thing has been incredible. Just even the Republicans are going, he could have done better. I think he probably could have, don't you think?
Opportunity, I heard one lady say, lost opportunity. I'll say.
Yeah, it reminded me of the aftermath of what the Democrats were saying after the previous debate when Biden didn't do so well, and which ultimately led to his stepping aside in favor of Kamala Harris. And I thought that Trump's whining during the debate about Kamala Harris being the person that he now has to run against, I thought that was sad, actually. All he did was just whine.
And I liked when she said, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Yeah, that's
I,
right. That's
you know,
right. She put him right in his place. She really did. She had no compunction at all of standing up to him, even from the get-go when she walked over and shook his hand and he didn't know what to do. And he finally took her hand. Did she say, I'm Kamala Harris? Did I hear that? Did
yeah,
she say that?
obviously with the intent of telling him how to pronounce her name.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Hey, Robert, what do you got to say?
Yeah, so this morning, after sitting through the debate last evening, and I actually stayed up through all of it. I actually bought an EKG machine recently because maybe it was drinking a little bit much every now and then, but I was getting some heart flutters here and there. And maybe it's because I'm hanging out with you old guys. I don't know. But I got a little EKG machine. I almost hooked myself back up to it last night, but I did calm down towards the end. But literally, I was getting physical reactions to the debate. And so this morning I got up and my social media is blowing up about the Haitians eating pets in Ohio and all this craziness. So
Right.
I was like, you know what? I have not called the best gerrymandered Republican districts here in Georgia because I thankfully actually live in a blue district. I'm in Metro Atlanta, I'll admit it. But
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
called on some folks a little bit more rural. So the
Uh-huh.
first one was to Barry Loudermilk. He's in North Metro Atlanta, no answer.
Mhm.
Called up to Marjorie Taylor Greene's office, no answer, went to voicemail. But Miss Sandra at Mike Collins' office. So Mike Collins is in a pretty red district that they've nicely gerrymandered for him, but he has a blue pocket around the University of Georgia in Athens. Also, the school shooting that we just covered last week is in his district. But Miss Sandra, the trooper, she was Johnny on the spot this morning answering the phone. And I just asked her, what was the reaction to the debate, and what is this insane stuff about Haitians eating pets? And so she goes on and she goes, was there a particular message you wanted to leave about that? And I said, I just don't know where this came from. She goes, it's in the news. And I told Miss Sandra, that's fake news. It's not true. She's saying, that's all I know. It's just in the news. And I'm not part of the Trump people. And she laughed. Take that for what that is. But this is a recorded phone call. But this is also a call to action that, okay, you got this idiot on the stage that is getting worldwide attention with this embarrassing BS that just rolls out of his mouth. But he's not the only one. And it's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's these other old white guys like Mike Collins and so forth. He tweeted the other day when all this supposedly came out, I'm going to quote this, they're in the park grabbing up ducks by they neck and eating them. He literally tweeted this the other day.
What?
Bush Republicans, whatever you Bush Republicans have left with this, whatever's left of this party, congratulations, this is it. Because it's embarrassing as hell.
What I found was amazing, not surprising, but every answer, practically, Trump brought up his fear-mongering about immigration. Every time. Didn't matter what the issue was. He brought back up how the immigrants are coming into this country and they're all criminals and they're bringing in disease and all of that. And I had to hand it to Harris because she handled that really well, I thought. And she's kept putting him back in his place. But that's clear that he is going to make that. He is making that and the economy. Those two things are the cornerstones of his campaign, and that's when he's pinning his hopes on. But the other thing I found really amazing, too, was how sour and negative and ugly and nasty what he had to say was. On the other hand, Harris, despite it all, was friendly and happy and smiled and positive. And to me, it was just a real contrast in terms of what we want for our leader. Do we want someone who is dark and negative all the time, or do we want somebody that's upbeat and willing to really work hard to make things better for this country?
Yeah, I think the format that ABC used to put this event together was was really good. They had the split screen the whole way. So instead of the shot of the two people standing behind a podium, you got a nice close-up shot of both of them. And Harris's advantage, because as you said, she was very pleasant. She's nice to look at in the first place. Part of misogynistic comments, but she is. And she was smiling and she was friendly and she looked like she was fairly comfortable. I think she was nervous at the start, but as it went along and as she got her footing, she looked like she was more comfortable. And Trump, on the other hand, was either scowling or he had this stupid fake grin on his face. Didn't fool anybody in terms of trying to hide his true emotions. And it was a close-up of him too. And I just thought the contrast was striking and to Harris's advantage.
Yeah. And she kept...
The other thing...
Go ahead,
to
Robert.
Continue on that real quick. I never heard Trump mention religion once, unless I missed it.
No, I don't think he did.
He did either.
Kamala mentioned it several times. Now, what Trump did mention was oil over and over again. He was obsessed with oil last night. And also apparently he's somehow become the green president because he's worried about saving hundreds of acres in the desert for unnecessary solar panels. So all of a sudden now he's worried about saving desert land.
But he likes solar. He said he likes solar. He's a solar fan.
Yeah, he's a solar fan, but he kept hitting Harris on fracking, which is a big deal in Pennsylvania, but it's a nasty practice, and eventually it's going to have to be stopped, and she knows that. But he kept trying to say to the people in Pennsylvania, she's going to take fracking away. In other words, your jobs are going to go. But that was just a bunch of crap.
The stories in Pennsylvania, that's true. Everything you say is true. But on the other hand, I've read stories about people who live near fracking, whatever you call them, installations.
Sites, yeah.
And they're having a hard time. They got health issues. There's environmental problems. Water's poisoned. I mean, fracking is bad stuff.
It is bad stuff. And she's saying I'm upset with her for backtracking on that and not holding her ground, but I recognize the political necessity for what she's doing in Pennsylvania. She really needs Pennsylvania and some of those other states. But fracking is really nasty, and you're right, causes all kind of health and environmental problems. And people that are employed doing that are going to need to find other ways to earn a living, I'm afraid, coming down the pike.
Yeah, but she struck back on the Pennsylvania thing when they were talking about Ukraine, and she said that, and she was blasting Trump. It was what I thought was one of the highlights of the debate. She was blasting Trump for his stand on NATO and Ukraine and his buddy relationship with Putin.
Yeah.
And she said something to the effect that you don't understand that without the NATO, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv these days, and he'd have his eyes on Poland, and 800,000 Polish Americans in Pennsylvania know that.
Yes, and I saw some comment on that on MSNBC last night that even if, I think it was MSNBC that I saw this, that even if she only converts 10,000 of those 800,000 Polish people in Pennsylvania, that could be enough for her to carry the state and thus win the election. That was a very astute comment that she made about the Polish people in Pennsylvania, I thought.
Yep, it was. To the point, and she said it at the right time, too.
Yeah. Then, of course, there was the talk about abortion, right? And how she kept claiming that Harris and the Democrats were willing to kill babies after they were born.
Where did that come from? That was the first I'd heard of it.
This is all they have left. They are just literally shouting out anything that they think someone is going to take a listen to. It's sad.
The guy
it's just sad.
You would say that in a campaign speech?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Who's going to believe that?
Unfortunately, a lot of the MAGA people believe it. They do. I see it in comments on some of the things I do on YouTube. They come in and start spouting off all that kind of stuff. So it's incredible that anyone would believe that. But apparently there are people in this country who think that Democrats would do that. And it's just an awful thing.
There is.
Yeah.
I think she didn't have to refute that directly, but I thought she expressed her stand on this issue very well and framed it in the context of the right for women to take care of their own bodies without the government poking their head in the bedroom door. And I think she did a great job of explaining that. And I think that, who knows, but that might have been what tipped the scale for Taylor Swift, who announced her endorsement right after the debate.
Yeah. Hey, what did you think about the comments about his crowds leaving? Harris said that his rallies where people were leaving early because they were bored, and it was as he rambled on.
It's true. And in MAGA world, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of some of these MAGA people that I've seen or some that I may know.
Yeah.
The stock market is at all-time highs. Trump is trying to say it's horrible that we're in decline, but the stock market is at all-time highs. But if these MAGA people, number one, are they leaving the debate because they got to go to work, because they can't actually truly take time off? And if so, then they probably have no money in the stock market anyway. So they're not noticing that the stock market is actually at a high. Again, I'm just trying to explain some of what's going on here. And it's the same. So the other one that it brings to mind was when Kelly Loeffler, if you might remember, debated Senator Warnock. And she was even worse of a broken record. Every time the camera came to her, she just said the same 10 sentences over and over again, like a Finbot. And people, that's boring.
Yeah.
You've got, at least last night, to give Trump a little bit of credit, he was getting mad, he was pointing his fingers, and he wouldn't look at her and all that kind of stuff. At least he had that going for him. because otherwise it would have been boring as hell. And these people are just like, they're tired of it.
Yeah. And then Harris pointed out that she has the endorsement of over 200 Republicans, including Dick and Liz Cheney. And she said, just ask the people who have worked for him. And then, of course, he said, I fired all those people. They were bad. And Biden and Harris never fired anybody. And that's supposed to be a bad thing for Biden and Harris?
Oh, and he fired them and they went and wrote a book. So remember, his White House was a revolving door.
Yeah.
And
he gave him
basically it
plenty
was
to
just
write
people
about,
that,
didn't he? He gave him plenty to write
well, he
books
did,
about, for crying out loud.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was the people that told him no. And these
Yeah.
are the narcissists, and they just find somebody to say, yes, I'll do your dirty work for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there was the darkness about how he said that immigrants are coming in here from Venezuela and other countries, and crime is going down in those countries, but it's going up in our country like it's never been before, all because of these immigrants that come in. And oh, by the way, they eat dogs and cats. Oh, man. And this guy wants to be president, right? He wants to be president.
Again, yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And let's recount. I know he lives in his own world and spouts out all these lies.
Yeah.
He lost the popular vote twice.
Yeah.
He lost the electoral college the second time. And this kind of gets into some polling that's going on right now. I saw a comment recently that it's going to come down to about 1% of the U.S. population in one of these swing states. And if you look at the math, if you look at all these different calculations, you got all the states that are either red or blue, but you got these swing states, and there's a couple of paths to victory. But the other concern that this was pointed out, I don't see this talked about often, allegedly, MAGA Republicans do not respond often to polls, and that liberals are more often likely to respond to polls.
Huh.
So just throw that out there, that this is not over yet, guys. That remember, when the opposite party is in power, it stirs up hornet's nest, and you never know how long those hornet's nests are going to last.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's no doubt that it's not over. That's for sure. However, I did see a notice this morning from one of the betting sites that, here it is right here. It certainly felt like Kamala Harris was in control of tonight's debate, and the betting public has reacted in unison. This is from a guy named Josh Barton from oddspr.com. Now the money has significantly shifted toward Harris, with a 54.4% of the handle on the VP. The website's odds have flipped since yesterday morning. The latest numbers: election odds, September 10 at 9 a.m., Harris plus 100, Trump minus 120. Election odds, September 10, 11 p.m., Harris minus 120, Trump plus 100. Now, I'm not real familiar with how these odds work, but I gather that the minus is good, and that
when you do sports betting, the minus, the negative number, it's the better side to bet on that.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
You got to give your opponent points. Yeah.
I thought that was like immediate reaction from people who are putting money on the election, which is important.
I liked some of the comments that came out of the spin room after the debate, other than Trump's. Tulsi Gabbard said Trump talked about issues that matter most to Americans. Really? Killing babies post-birth, eating pets in Ohio, millions of illegal immigrants destroying the country.
Right.
This is what Americans care about?
And getting rid of Obamacare with replacing it with an idea that I've got, but I don't really have it ready yet, which he's been saying for years.
He's got a concept.
He's busy staying out of jail. Bless his heart.
Yeah, that was another point that Harris came out with last night, was his many felony charges that he's got, and how he's going to be sentenced coming up very shortly in November, how he's going to be sentenced for some of those felony charges, which I was very good.
All rigged.
It's all rigged. And of course, yeah, his response was the Justice Department under Biden and Harris. They did that just to get rid of me. And who wants to
If that were true,
weaponize
we
the
wouldn't have heard
Justice
me last
Department
night.
anyway? He's been saying that after he wins, that everybody who supported his opponents were going to be charged with crimes and whatnot. They were going to go after him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about weaponizing the Justice Department. What'd you say, Arthur?
Do you think he'll come after us?
Oh, maybe the Lean to the Left podcast is so well known all across this country. Oh man. And he was asked about peaceful transfer of power. What was his response to that? You guys remember?
Hmm.
Well, it was so hard.
He dodged the question.
Oh,
He
well, that's
just
all I don't
dodged the
remember.
question. And he said that he was asked on January 6th, you told your people to march to the Capitol. Is there anything you regret? And he said, I said peacefully and patriotically, this group of people have been treated so badly. What about all the people that left in this country? What about all the people they are going to prosecute? And then he turned to Minneapolis and Seattle and started whining about those incidents that occurred. He claimed that he told Pelosi that he'd like to bring in 6,000 members of the National Guard on January 6th to help quell that disturbance that he created, and tried to claim that he had no responsibility, even as the President of the United States, to manage that crowd and to prevent the violence. That was just totally irresponsible.
And then the moderator asked him again, asked that same question again. Do you regret any of your actions that you made on September 6th? And again, he ducked the question.
Yeah, yeah. Then Harris said, I was at the Capitol on January 6th, and on that day, the President of the United States invited a violent mob to attack the Capitol. He was indicted and impeached for that situation.
Yep.
So,
too bad she couldn't say and convicted.
Yeah, too bad, but hopefully that will be the case before too long. And then he started talking about the millions and millions of people that come in from the border and all that stuff again. He just kept coming back to that same old theme over and over again.
And to her credit, Harris would say, how many times did she say the same old tired playbook? She said she kept on batting him back for using the same old tired playbook.
Yeah.
So,
and then Harris said, we can't afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. I'm not sure if that's the exact quote. I was taking notes pretty quickly while that was going on, but that's essentially what she said. And Trump said, when I win, the people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and some will be long-term prison sentences. That's scary. It is.
This is what we are dealing with. So the other news on going back to Taylor Swift and the endorsement there. So Elon put his 2 cents in and said, since Taylor, you're a childless Catwoman, I'll give you a child. If that's not cringy enough.
He said what?
He says, fine, Taylor, you win. I will give you a child and guard your cats with my life. This was around midnight last night. If that's not cringy enough.
wow.
Okay. So then he was asked about Ukraine. Do you want Ukraine to win this war? And all he said was, I want this war to end. He would not say that he wanted Ukraine to win the war. He would not say that at all. And then he talked about how Putin respects him and that the war would never have happened if he was the president, because Putin would have been afraid to do it, which, again, is a bunch of crap.
And then he warped what Harris did directly before the Russian invasion started. She went over and rallied the troops among nations and got everybody organized in the event of the inevitable invasion. Trump warped that into saying she went over more or less to see Putin, and she was so unimpressive, according to Trump, that Putin went ahead and decided he could get away with invading Ukraine, and so he did.
Yeah.
He misinterpreted her visit to to the region to discuss the situation with NATO and completely misrepresented it.
She had a
Yeah.
pretty good
Well,
retort. Go ahead, Robert.
I was curious, in 2018, 2019, if you rewind a little bit, the Trump administration lifted sanctions on 3 firms linked to Russian oligarchs. Trump loses re-election, the sanctions go back in, and Putin reacts this way. So, of course, Trump knows how to make the war end and make his buddy Putin happy.
Yeah. How about Trump's claim that if he gets elected, that before he even takes the oath of office and is sworn in, that he'll have that war settled? What'd you think about that?
Of course he will. It all has to do with money. It's the sanctions. And
Yeah.
make him happy, make him stop.
It reminds me of when Nixon, while he was campaigning for president against Humphrey, contacted the North Vietnamese and said, stall until I get there. And the peace talks started there. It also reminds me of Reagan, who did the same thing with the Iran hostage situation before he was sworn in. This is a pretty common Republican presidential strategy to announce at the expense of your opponent, go over their head and announce to the antagonist on the other side, just hang on, wait till I get there and we'll fix things.
Yeah. But then what did Harris say to Trump? Putin would eat you for lunch.
Already had.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason that he's still alive is that he is in second place and essentially going to win the presidency again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Putin had no use for him.
Yeah. And so then she pointed out later, talking about racial issues, that Trump refused to rent apartments to people of color back in the day when he was an apartment mogul or whatever. And he didn't have a lot to say.
I don't think he denied it.
No,
No,
he didn't. He didn't have a lot to say about that at all.
He didn't deny New York for the falsely accusing the 5 men of murder and their execution, and then finding out that they hadn't done it at all. They were innocent.
Yeah.
Back off of that.
I wonder what they're going to. I wonder what the Trump and the Republicans are going to say. The latest economic news that came out today indicates that we're about to see interest rates dropped because the economy is improving to that point. And I noticed that around here, gas prices have plummeted over the last month or so. I see they're down about 40 cents a gallon at some gas stations. One near me, a Shell station, has regular gas for $2.69 a gallon. So
what do you care? You got an electric car.
I do. I don't care, but I haven't bought a gallon of gas in several months. My electric bill has gone up a little bit, but then I put solar on my roof, and that helps to ameliorate that. Is that a word?
I need to go find my tinfoil hat, but you know how they're explaining it. So they're doing this on purpose. That he's purposely lowering gas prices so that Kamala can get in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's my opinion, that the Republicans purposely increase prices to give the Republicans something to talk about the economy. There you go.
The 2 big issues that Trump's running on are the economy and immigration. You can look at the economy and inflation. You look at the charts on inflation, and it's precipitous how much it's dropped. You'd look at the similar charts on the number of immigrants coming into the country since Biden imposed the freeze sharply. So what's he going to talk about? He's going to say, what do you want? Number 1, illegal immigration is down. And number 2, the economy is looking better. And and by the way, you shadow vetoed a bill that would have fixed the immigration situation that was co-sponsored, and it was a bipartisan bill. What's he going to do about now?
Yeah, exactly. And then there was talk about climate change. What would you do to fight climate change? And Harris talked about the fact that Trump calls climate change a hoax, pointed out that young people of America care deeply about this issue. Trump said they're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases paid for by China, and kept throwing back that because of the Biden administration, China has been given all this leeway to do things. Incredible.
What's that got to do with climate change?
Not a thing. But again, it was his way of dodging the question, right? Trump says we're laughed at all over the world. We're going to end up in a third world war. That is one of the most irresponsible statements I've ever heard a president or would-be president make, to throw out fear of a third world war if he doesn't win the election. My opinion, if he wins the election, we're in a lot more danger than if he doesn't.
And one of the commentators last evening made a comment. It was like, okay, let's say he gets in next year and he's in for 4 years and he's going to have access to the most powerful military and all the weapons in the world.
Yeah. So then once again, Trump returned to immigration and he called Biden the worst president and Harris the worst vice president in the history of our country. So said the worst president this country has ever known.
Yeah, well, they're not the worst president or vice president I've ever known. That is for sure.
Ah, that's true. And I would have to say, just to reiterate, that Trump was the worst president I've ever known. And I shudder to think what would happen if he should win this election. I really do.
Here's the thing. Look, critics of Harris's performance last night said that once again she failed to provide substance and meat for her policies that she would install if she became president.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to that is that's not what presidential debates are about. You're not supposed to go through a laundry list of 27 bullets about what your economic program is going to be. The idea behind, because you've only got 2 minutes at a pop to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get rebutted and you go back and forth. There's no way you can do it. The idea of a presidential debate is to show American people if you've got the mettle to serve in the toughest job in the world. And that's really what the debate is about. And so people sitting in front of their TV sets can sit there and look at these people and figure out for themselves whether they got the moxie and the determination and the willpower and the leadership abilities to be able to lead this country for the next 4 years. And there's clearly no doubt who emerged on top as a result of that. Harris just proved conclusively that she's got what it takes to be president of the United States. And also she's got the backdrop for it, because what better way to make an impression at a rally? She's coming to Raleigh tomorrow and she's going to land at the airport in Air Force, it's called Air Force Two, but it's the same plane as
Mm-hmm.
Air Force. And she's going to roll up the tarmac and and she's going to get off and she's going to walk down and it's going to be terribly impressive. She's got everything going for her now. And I sure hope she can keep up the momentum, because it's all looking good right now.
Yeah, I hope she can keep up the momentum too. I worry that she can't, but every day that goes by, she seems to be gaining. Now, there was the other day a story that the polls have tightened a bit and that essentially it's tied, but that was prior to the debate. And so I'm anxious to see what the polls show in the next couple of days in terms of the switch.
Yeah. And again, a question about the polls. Every now and then I see a civics poll. That seems to be the closest thing for these types of things. I've also in the past seen these little text messages that are veiled in a poll to try to steer your thinking in one direction. I don't really count those as real polls either. But do you guys regularly get polls? Do you get phone calls, text messages? No?
No, not really. I've had a couple in the last several months.
Not me. And chances are, if I got a call like that, I think it was a scam.
Yeah. I know. And I think that's what a lot of people do too. You get a call like that, and if you don't recognize the number or the name, I don't know about you, but I don't take a lot of those calls. And my phone warns me, possible scam.
Yeah.
And who's going to take those calls? So I think that raises a lot of questions about the validity of these polls, especially given the fact that most everybody today has a cell phone And I don't know, do these pollsters, are they calling house numbers or cell phones or both? Do you know?
Don't know, but
I don't know.
I do know that the one call I got about participating in, it wasn't a call, actually, it was a text that said, "Would you be interested in participating in a poll if we called you tomorrow?"
Mhm.
And here, you can check us out here, click. I guess that's how they're getting around it as far as the smartphones are concerned. But I think Robert's right. I think progressives are probably more likely to respond to a poll than conservatives are.
Yeah.
And
Okay. All right, Robert, you got anything else you want to add?
There's plenty. Just repeating this, it's not over yet, guys. September 11th, and again, remembering all that comes along with today.
Yes.
But we got almost 2 months to go here
Yes.
till Election Day.
Yes.
Stay in there.
Speaking of September 11th, I did a podcast and streamed it today, interview with an author who wrote about the impact of September 11th on young people who were born about that day or around that day, and how that's affected their lives. And it's a good piece. And if you guys get a chance, check it out. You can find it on YouTube or just check out the Lean to the Left YouTube channel. And
Yeah. And I was in my alma mater where I went to undergrad down in South Georgia, they have ties to Jimmy and Rosalind Carter. And that's where I was when 9/11 happened. And this was in the infancy of the internet. We still probably had close to dial up internet or DSL at the time, and we had to roll a TV
yeah,
in the office, and everybody huddled around the TV and watched what was going on. And
yeah.
just the differences and how that went down versus how it could today with social media and the internet and everything we have now. It's just crazy.
All right, guys. Listen, it's been a good discussion. I appreciate you coming on. Hey, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Lean to the Left video and you found it interesting and informative. Please visit on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that focus on progressive politics and the important social issues of our time. Now, our interview shows stream on Mondays with special episodes on Thursdays. And you can check out upcoming shows, guests, and topics at podcast.leantotheleft.net. Subscribe to our audio version there and to our video shows here at YouTube. And follow us on social media. Facebook at Bob Gatty and the Lean to the Left podcast. Now, it's two. Bob Gatty is one Facebook page, and the Lean to the Left podcast is a second Facebook page. Twitter at Lean to the Left 1, Instagram at Lean to the Left 1, TikTok at Lean to the Left, LinkedIn at Bob Gatty, and YouTube at Lean to the Left. Now, I hope you'll support Lean to the Left as well so we can keep things going. Just click on the Donate tab at the top of the leantotheleft.net homepage and contribute by buying me a cup of coffee. That'll really help and would be much, much, much appreciated. Now, this is Bob Gatty signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.